Hi, I'm Mark Mosine, a producer, jazz musician, artist, and composer based in Atlanta, Georgia, USA. I'm 25 years old and I make a living teaching people how to make music, how to understand music theory, how to write songs, how to mix, how to master, how to do sound design, how to finish music, how to do social media. And today I'm going to tell you how I've finished a lot of music myself. I am going to give you a demo at the end of this video of some of the music that I finished. Here is what that's going to look like. I literally just have pretty much all my music from about the last half a year or so in Ableton here. And yeah, it takes me about a day to completely compose and produce an entire track. I would say the actual number is 10 hours of my time to like start to finish, write and produce a track, and then another 2 hours to mix and master it. So it takes me about 12 hours. I'd say like 14 tops to finish a song, like a whole song. And here's how I do it. So it's a 4-stage system. This is what I call the effortless electronic music finishing system. Although it does work for any genre, it's just, of course, in electronic music, we have those formal stages of production, mixing, and mastering. So first we're going to write the song and give it a structure. Then we're going to produce the song and fill that structure with sounds. Then we're going to mix the song and balance those sounds. And then finally, we are going to polish the song at the end. Let's talk a little bit about all of these phases. Phase 1, composition. Okay. So to move towards a goal, we must aim in a direction. An idea doesn't matter if you can't finish it. Write songs, not ideas. I always recommend, for starters, that you have somewhat of a reference. So let's say you want to make house music, find some house music tracks that you really admire and pull them into your project. Okay, it's going to make your life a lot easier if you do that. I am going to open up a project real quick just so I can show you a little bit of what I am about to talk about right after I open this project, which is we want to write at least 2 distinct ideas together. And these ideas are going to be related by a motif. So what does this mean? A lot of producers get into this hole where they write 8-bar loops, and that's cool. They make a cool drop. They have a cool idea. But it's just that. It's just an idea. It's just a drop. It's just a breakdown. It's just an intro. It's just an outro. It's just any of these arrangement archetypes. Maybe you can make just an intro, outro. You have a cool idea, but it's not a song. And the reason it's not a song is because it's only one idea. That's it. If you have 2 ideas, now what happens is, well, this thing is going somewhere, right? Because if we have 2 ideas as opposed to 1, now the first idea can go somewhere. There's some story that has to occur in order for the second idea to be reached from the first idea. And so this is why we want to write 2 ideas together. This is the first step of the first phase, which again is the composition phase. Now, once you really have that down, once you really want to move down to the second stage of production, here's where you want to structure the ideas, okay? So I have this track here called Future Jazz. Let me turn the gain down on this a lot. It's a dubstep track, so it's pretty loud. Yes. So when I wrote this song, I started this song Friday night, and it's Sunday now, and it's done. It's produced. Now it's time for mixing and then mastering. It's completely done. And so I started off with the first idea here, and then I made a drop. So here's kind of how it sounds.
No. Listen, all of you. You've got to take direction. You've got to have discipline. You've got to have respect for your director.
But yeah, just to give you a little sneak peek there. So that's one idea, right? That is, it's super cool. I have my horns, my bass sound design, whatever. But that's one idea. And you can kind of hear it evolving, right? But then here, next I had a drop. super heavy drop, doesn't matter. 2 ideas are what make a song, okay? And you might have noticed I have this very clear arrangement. So intro, 8, 16. This is the next step of finishing music ludicrously fast, is you just structure your songs, and you do that before you produce them. As you can see, I have a very clearly defined structure. As you can see, I have a reference track. This track called Lose It by Splitter. It's a track I very much admire. And what I do is I look at the track. Well, this is what I recommend for beginner intermediates as well. Once you have been producing for longer, you can know what arrangements are effective and choose that based off of that. When you're starting out, if you don't know what to do, you simply do this. It's so easy. Just take a track that you admire and look at the arrangement, ideally in the same genre, okay? And then take the arrangement. So again, it's not exactly the same. I cut out a little bit because I wanted mine to be slightly shorter, but generally, this is what you're going to do. You're going to structure it in terms of 8 measures. Remember, a measure is just a grouping of 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3. That's all a measure is, okay? It's also known as a bar. So that's a bar. Well, sorry, this is a bar. That's a bar. That is actually a beat. That's a beat. This is a bar and or measure. It's the same thing. So that's 2 measures. That's 3 measures. As we can see, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? So these are measures. We have 8 measures. Boom. 8 measures, boom. You're going to find, especially if you make EDM, but even in general, that the best arrangements are going to have 8, 8, 8. Every 8, something changes. 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. Boom. Super straightforward. Super, super straightforward. There are exceptions to that, but don't worry about the exceptions for now. Just follow this rule. It's going to make your life really easy. Boom. And then that's all you have to do to structure an entire arrangement. And then you just use this list here. So the arrangement is the one place where you don't get to be creative. It is the structure of your track from left to right. Extremely important to get this right from the beginning. It's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to save you a lot of trouble. It's going to make your life really easy. Okay. Phrasing and arrangement archetypes are what matter here. So again, the phrase is simply a group of measures. All right. And what determines the phrase is where in the song we are. We have different archetypes. That's what I call them. But, and that might sound fancy to you, but I assure you, you've heard of these before. Chorus, bridge, intro, outro, build up. It's you know, this is kindergarten level stuff, really. So what we do is we simply just fill the arrangement with the archetypes, okay? Intro, 8 bars. And then 8 here. So this is part of the intro. So what I like to do is just say 8, because it's 8 bars after the intro. And then same thing here, 16 bars after the intro. CPU is struggling right now, can't lie. It's actually the memory that's struggling. My CPU's gas. Now, because now I have a build-up that starts here. And then we're into the drop, which is insane. But so 16, build, drop, 8, right? It's 8 measures. 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. Sometimes not 8, but just don't worry about that because it's so much easier to just use 8, and 8 always works. 8 always works, especially if you're a beginner. You don't have to worry about anything but that. All right, cool. So arrangement archetypes are they're gonna make up our song. We have a chorus, bridge. You know, I don't really have a chorus in. You know, in a way, like with this EDM dubstep track, I could call this the chorus in a way because this is kind of where my horns come in. There's a melody going on. And this is where my motif is recognized. And I'm going to talk about that too because that's really, really, really important. Now, let's bring this back into context. We are talking right now about the first phase of this. So composition, write the song and give it a structure. Great, awesome. Production, mixing, mastering. We're going to talk about those. Haven't talked about those yet. Okay, cool. So again, use a reference track, write 2 ideas at the same time, and once you have written 2 ideas, use the reference track to steal the arrangement, and then structure the track from left to right using these arrangement archetypes, and use 8 measures per arrangement archetype phrase. Super, super straightforward. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to drop any comments. If you're liking this, by the way, or you want to hear anything, or you want to learn anything in particular, please let me know. I'm open to making any types of videos. I love this stuff. And yeah, I'm willing to talk about like anything. So yeah, cool. So I didn't talk about this yet. So we want to write 2 distinct ideas together at the same time, related by a motif. Now, if you really want to be a songwriter, if you're really trying to compose songs, even though we're talking about music production, At the end of the day, we're really composing, right? Well, generally speaking, that's probably your goal. Songwriting, composition. So what actually is a motif? Well, it's an idea that is distinctive, a distinctive feature or dominant idea in an artistic or literary composition. A short succession of notes producing a single impression, a brief melodic or rhythmic formula out of which longer passages are developed. So I'm sure you know who this is. And I'm sure you've probably heard this song by who that is. So what's the motif in this song? I can tell you it right now. Ba-da-da, da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da, da-da-da-da. Really catchy melody, right? And that's what a motif is. It's a catchy melody. It's something you can sing. It's something you can remember. And it's something your mom would be able to sing if she listened to your track. If your mom listened to your track, what would she be singing backwards afterwards? What would she be singing afterwards after having listened to the track? What is going to stick in her head? Someone who doesn't understand music but just likes to listen to it, what is going to resonate with them? What is going to be stuck in their head? That's the motif. It's usually very simple. I like to say that it's so simple that you can just sing it with your mouth. Like if you can make it with your mouth, that's like what you want. Ba 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 ba. I'm not singing the pitches, obviously, but the rhythm of it is so simple that I could simply make those syllables occur with my mouth just like that. Ba 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 da ba. It's just eighth notes. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's kind of part of Avicii's genius, right? It's just the simplicity of it. And that's the thing about motifs is that we can close out of this, but they are simple, they are memorable, they are distinct, and they are characteristic. Okay, so that's the composition phase. That's it. So again, choose a reference track, write two ideas together, however you are inspired, however you want to do that. That's where you come in. You're unique and you're special, and this is where you get to show that. Super cool, right? Once you really want to produce a song, wait. Give it a structure, use your reference track, fill in that arrangement using the archetypes, intro, chorus, whatever it is. I actually kind of like that for this. It's like an EDM chorus in a way. I might even stick with that actually. So then this would probably be, I like to use 8 because it's just 8 measures after. But then I actually have my build up start here, my drop, 8 of the drop, B section of the drop. So still a drop. You're not going to have a drop if you're a singer-songwriter type of person doing pop, but this is EDM, so I'm going to have a drop and then a B section of the drop, so it's just another drop, but in the first drop, and then break. And then I have maybe I could even call this like chorus 2, because I have those horns coming again here. Yeah, memory's struggling right now, and then 16, I could call that 8 now. Build up again, drop 2, 8, B section 8, out. This is really the outro. And that's it. That was the first thing I did when I made this track. So again, I came up with the initial horn idea here. And what is the motif? Well, I'll show you. You might have already figured it out. Ba-da-da-da-da. That's my motif. Ba-da-da. Ba-da-da-da-da. We can solo the saxophones for a minute here. Ba-da-da-ba-da. Solo the bones for a second. And then what I'm doing for this last part, related by a motif, is I'm dropping that in like throughout the song.
Holy shit, dude.
So right here again, ba da da da. Simple, right? I can sing it. Ba 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 da da da. It's not like no, it's ba da da da. You know what I'm saying? It's so simple. It's like really, really simple. Okay. And then my drop comes in. And that's why this works. That's why this is a song. Because even though this is jazz over here and this is dubstep over here, I'm telling you, if you do this, it'll make sense because you have these two ideas and then they're connected somehow. This is how. And the key here is now I'm going to be bringing that in throughout. So same shit. I'm bringing in that motif again in between the drop here. Cool. All right. So I think that's enough said on the composition phase. Really great stuff. This is it. This is how you finish music very quickly. Okay, let's move on. So again, that's the first phase of 4. Next is production. This is where we're going to fill that structure that we just created, and we're going to fill it with sounds. This is where your unique sound emerges. Yay, super cool. And what's so cool about this is even if you suck at producing and you don't understand sound design, well, you at least understand the assignment now. And the assignment is just to fill the structure that you made. That's it. All right. So you have this left to right structure. The song starts here and it ends here in your track. And you know that you have to fill in that structure with sound somehow. So that at least it simplifies the problem to the point where you now know what you have to do. Maybe you don't know how to do it, but you know like what to do. You know that you have to produce the track. You know that you need a drop here, another drop here, a breakdown here, a chorus here, a build up here. And because you know that, you can actually start making educated decisions in a way that is logical and moves you towards your goal, which is to finish the song so you can advance your skill and achieve what you want with your music. Be heard, be seen, right? But yeah, so production is fundamentally just filling the structure with sounds. By far, probably the most difficult and like time-consuming part of this whole process is the production, but not the most important part of the process. Can you guess what the most important part of it is? Well, I'll tell you right now, it's not mastering. It's definitely not mastering. It's not mixing, and it's not production. It's actually this. I don't care what mastering chain you use. I don't care how good at mixing you are. I don't care if your sound design is the best sound design I've ever heard. If the song sucks, does all that matter? I'll let you answer that one. But production and sound design. Production is simply filling the arrangement with sound selection and design. So now we simplify the problem again to how do we fill the structure? Well, here's what you do. You're going to have to fill each arrangement archetype one by one in a way that makes sense. And if I can find the formula, what we're going to do is, again, identify the arrangement archetype first, and then generally speaking, follow this formula. This is generally what you have to do for drops in particular. You don't always need drums if it's not a drop. So let's actually add drop here because this is again, the arrangement archetype is a drop. What do we need for a fire drop? We need drums, we need sub bass, we need sound design, and we need it to be loud enough. And if you have those four things, keyword proper here, there's a lot of nuance between of what proper is when it comes to sound design, sound selection. That's where if you're newer, it can be really tough to get that right without having someone who's a trained ear listen to what you're doing and like give you feedback. If that appeals to you, check out the link in my bio. I'll get you there in months instead of years that it would take you by yourself. But identify the arrangement archetype first, make a drop. Boom. Drum samples, sub bass, sound design, loudness. Boom. We have our drop. Okay, cool. Next, what we do is, all right, well, I'm going to, you have your two ideas. It's like, all right, well, I have my idea, and now I'm going to flesh it out. But I know, because remember, the other thing is you have the context because you're using a reference track. You have somewhat of a semblance of an idea of what the heck you're trying to make. This is why we have to do this, because it's going to establish our decision making, and it's going to make our lives a lot easier. Okay. Not to go too in depth with this, because this is a whole masterclass in and of itself. But there's a lot of different ways that we can deal with sounds here. It's all waveforms at the end of the day. And the key is to just get the ideas out and fill up that space and do what you can to make the sound cool. We want fullness. We want richness, color, intrigue, excitement, character, variation, differences. That's what we want. We want energy. We want it to be cool, right? We want energy. There's different types of energy. And in general, when we do production, we want to fill in the space, right? Because we want to have a track that sounds full, like I said. And so, really, when we're producing music, we have this range of space. And now I believe I actually have, yeah, that's perfect. We have this range of space around our ears. So, I'm not sure what you're listening on, but, I've got headphones on right now. 2 speakers, right? It's not 1 speaker, it's 2 speakers. And so what happens is, because there's 2 speakers, there's one on the left and the right, we have this range of possibility in the middle. It's 180 degrees, actually, half a circle. And what's cool about production is it allows us to put things anywhere we want along that half circle. This is what we call stereo imaging, all right? So again, an audio channel, it's a source of audio. It's mono by definition, okay? I think your iPhone speaker, the iPhone speaker I think actually does have stereo. But again, like one of your headphones, an AirPod, 1 speaker, something like that. Stereo audio is a standard. It's something that we use because it's easy and cool. That's it. It's a definition. It's a method of reproducing sound. That's all stereo actually means. Your headphones are stereo because they have 2 channels, right? Not going to go too deep into this, but I'll leave that there if you want to pause it and read through it. Essentially, the idea is we can use the fact that we have 2 speakers to create space. If the speakers are the same, it's going to sound like if the information coming from the speakers is the same, it's going to sound like it's coming from the middle. If they're completely different, it's going to be at the sides. And we use those differences. We use those differences to make it interesting, to make it full, to make it have space. And that is how we do production. We choose sounds that we think are cool, that we think we should use, and we put them in the different areas of the stereo field, and we do that over time through the song in the different arrangement archetypes: intro, chorus, build, drop. And we do that in a way that we like and we think is cool and that makes us feel good, and that's our unique sound. As you do this, you want to save and reuse and evolve your sounds, the stuff that works well. You kind of want to know who are you? Like, what do you want to make? What inspires you the most? And then really focus on this too. You want to take care of yourself. You want to guard your energy. Focus on what makes you feel good. Focus on what is actually good for you, and then you will emerge. It's how it works, especially if you're called to do this. You have gifts and you have talents and you are worthy of expressing them. Okay. A little bit on sound design real quick. Generally speaking, this is the order that you want to follow. You're going to have your input sound, which you can make with this system. So some good MIDI information. Depends on the type of sound you're making. Are you making a pad, a pluck, a bass, super saw, a riser? There's a lot that you can do, right? But don't overthink it. I don't want to overwhelm you with all this. It's actually pretty simple. Just pick a sound that you like and put it where you think you should put it for now. If you're brand new, that's what I would tell you to do. And then generally do some processing that makes it sound cooler, and then do some compression to make it thicker and brighter. Do some width and spatial effects if you want. And then shaping and corrective EQ is more of a mixing technique, but just something that will help it fit into the mix a little easier. Some delay and reverb, and then some sidechain. Okay, that is really the production phase in a nutshell. There's obviously way more that goes into all of that than what I just said, but for now, let's move on to the 3rd phase, which is mixing. Again, this is the effortless electronic music finishing system, the only system you need to be finishing a song in a day, just like I do. And it's not a one-time thing either. Now, there is creativity and there is energy and there's these other factors involved in being inspired enough to have that many ideas. But in terms of the objectivity, in terms of the process, this is what works. This is what you should do. And here's why. Mixing. This is the 3rd phase. This is where we're going to balance the sounds. Very good, very fun. An amazing mix is just these 3 things. It's contrast, it's great balance, and it's great sound design. And so what is this actually about at this point? Volume. Focus. It's that simple. All of your mixing decisions, it comes down to this right here. It comes down to volume. Mixing is all about balance. And balance is all about volume. We balance everything with volume only. All of these different tools that are available to you, the whole point is to change the volume. EQ, we're dipping the volume. We're only dipping the volume in one place of the spectrum, right? Again, EQ, it's volume, but just here versus here. Compression, similar idea. We are reducing or we are changing the dynamic range of a sound. Dynamics is volume. Or we are raising the quiet parts of a sound so that they can be more easily perceived, so that there is a slightly different balance, so that there's a slightly different focus. Mixing's all about focus. Focus, balance, and volume. If you understand those 3 things and you get good at production, that's literally all you need. You're probably not even going to need to master. Going to talk about mastering, though. You should always do it. And I'll tell you why. But yeah, we balance everything with volume only. Do it during the production too. It doesn't make sense to leave mixing completely till the mixing phase because you don't want to have a crappy sounding mix as you're producing. Creativity and objectivity are not separated. They go together. And so it's important that you have a solid sounding mix as you're being creative. That's my take. This is a little bit on sound design. If a sound is perfect quality, it will mix perfectly. And quality, what that actually means is, it depends on what you're making and the type of track you're going for. Great mixes are in the envelopes. Again, don't want to overwhelm you here, but just thinking about again, it's just volume. Thinking about how is your sound entering and leaving the mix? Is it or is it whoa, or is it whoa, 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 whoa? Is it like, how is that happening? What is the relationship of the sound's volume to silence? You know what I mean? Is it plucky? Is it like longer? Is it shorter? This is simply articulation. This is a core musical definition, and it's simply how a note is played or sung. In EDM and electronic music, it's simply how is a sound performed, right? Staccato, ta 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 ta. Marcato, ta ta ta. I might be messing marcato up a little bit. I think that's how you do marcato. Whatever. I'm getting off track. We're not going to talk about this today. That's definitely out of scope for this video. But great mixes are in the envelopes. Just thinking about how your sounds are coming in and going. That's all. Okay. Great mixing is about focus, balance, and volume. Finally, mastering is about polish. It's about finalizing. It's about garnish. It's finishing touches. It's what can I do to make this a little bit better? That's all we are doing in mastering. We are not making the song loud in mastering. No, that's not no, you don't want to do that. No, don't do that. You do not want to achieve loudness in the mastering phase. Nope. That's outdated. That is not what to do, in my opinion. It is not where you want to fix problems. It's not the thing that's going to make your sound professional. And it's not just some rack that you put on your master every single song. No. Now, your mix should already be competitively loud if that's what you need by the time you get to mastering. You don't have to do it that way. But I just think from the mindset perspective, it should be that way. I just think loudness, like the loudness of a song is such a core part of the song that you should not wait till mastering to achieve that loudness. That is my take. So what actually is mastering? It's a series of smaller moves, first of all, because more signal is affected. This is your whole song. So if you add a huge EQ, then you're going to be changing the entire song. You know what I mean? So be careful. It's garnish. If you cook a really crappy dish, you put some nice basil on the end and some garnish, but the ingredients aren't good, it's not going to taste good no matter how many garnishes you put on it. Now, likewise, let's say you cook a perfect meal, 10 out of 10. The ingredients are succulent. The meat's cooked perfectly. The spices are perfectly balanced. And then it's presented to you. Well, no matter how good that dish is, a little garnish is always going to make it even better. You know what I mean? It could be Gordon Ramsay. I don't care. If you add garnish, it's going to be just a little better, right? Now, of course, the garnish doesn't make the dish, but it just puts it over the top. It's already great. We just put it over the top. And this is what mastering is actually for. Practically speaking, we're talking 2 to 3 dB changes tops. If you find yourself needing or wanting to do more than that, you got to go back here. You got to go back to the mix. You got to balance those sounds a little better. You got to really even look at these two phases, to be honest, because the better you get at these two, the less you're going to need to do here, because things are just going to naturally fit together so well just because it's such a good song and you make such good choices with your sound selection. You should do this yourself because it's going to teach you about your mixing. And it's going to help you understand the big picture of each song that you're doing. And it's going to really force you to look at what you're doing in your mix down and in your production. That being said, I do believe you should pay someone else to do it at some point, because what a mastering engineer actually does is just fix your mix. Like, they're not mastering your track. Well, they are, but like if you send a mastering engineer a track that you've made and they send it back to you and it sounds way better, it's not because they mastered it. It's because they fixed your mix. It's because they can't fix your production, but it's because they made your mix better. And that's why it sounds mastered. And so this can be really useful because you're going to be like, oh, well, it sounds better for this reason. You can compare it to the version that you sent them. You can even ask them if you want. Maybe if you have that rapport with them, you could do that. It's just a fresh perspective too. Also, someone who explicitly masters and has a certain listening environment and certain gear can bring a very unique and very cool tone to your track, perhaps. So something to think about, without a doubt. But yeah, to really just finalize this, as you make your track, look at reference tracks. Look at the genre you're trying to make. Again, I don't want to overwhelm you. This stuff's all really simple. It just takes time to set it up properly and learn it, but it works. Again, choose a reference track that you like. I'm just using one in this example. When I master this, I'll probably be pulling in a few more dubstep tracks, but that's pretty much it. If you do this, you're going to finish a lot of music and you're going to do it really fast because it works. It's a great process. Again, composition, production, mixing, and mastering. 4 stages. They all have their own dedicated time. Generally speaking, when you move on from one, you shouldn't move back for the sake of finishing the song. We want to finish songs. We want to complete songs so that we can keep moving. We can keep learning. By getting good at everything, we're going to just get so good at producing over time. Again, I tell you, this song took me 12 hours total. It's not completely done, but it's pretty much there. 12, 15 hours maybe. But what's going to happen is if you focus on finishing music consistently, and the way you do that is by using this system. If you focus on finishing music consistently, what's going to happen is the quality is going to increase. Obviously, great. Your quality is going to go up. You're going to be a better producer. Awesome. But the thing people don't realize is that your quantity is going to decrease or stay the same. What do I mean by quantity? The quantity of time that it takes you to make a track, to make a song, isn't going to change. It's actually probably going to get better. As you get better at finishing music, not only is it going to take you less time to finish music, but you're going to the level of quality of the music that you're finishing is going to be higher because you kept it moving. Because you said, okay, I'm done with the production. Let's move on to the mix. A song is never, and here's just a final mindset thing for you. This is holistic creativity. This is the music process of holistic creativity, but I know I'm talking fast. A song is never perfect, okay? There's no such thing as a perfect song. Subjectively, sure, but objectively, nothing's ever perfect. I can always come on here and look at my saxophones and say, oh, this, I need to boost the high end a half a dB because it's not bright enough, or I need to cut the mids here because of this thing in my head that I think I should do. There is no such thing as a perfect track. This is why it's so important to actually sacrifice quality for quantity. You're going to sacrifice short-term quality for long-term quality by decreasing your short-term quantity. So again, I could spend another day on this track being oh, I'm going to tweak this and do this and do this, but my time is better spent finishing this track and moving on to a new track so that I can get those longer-term quality gains from starting the new track rather than getting a slightly better shorter-term quality on this one track. That's a really important idea, especially if you're serious about this, especially if you want to make great music very quickly like this. I'm going to repeat it. So again, I could spend another 10 hours or even another week or another month even on this one song doing little tweaks and thinking about how the saxophones are sitting in the mix and making the drums better and making it more interesting and adding more variation with the goal of getting the quality of this one song higher. Or I could say, you know what, it's good. I'm going to decide to call this done. I'm going to decide to finish this now. Despite the fact that there's more I could do, despite the fact that the quality could be a little higher, I'm going to finish it now. I'm going to call it done, and I'm going to move on. And that is going to allow me to achieve a longer-term growth of quality with my music because I'm actually getting the reps in, because I'm actually finishing more songs, and because I'm actually practicing everything that I need to practice. I'm really grateful that you joined me today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. I know there's a lot of information here, but this stuff really does work. It really does make sense. And it actually is quite simple at a high level, which is what I tried to achieve with this video. If this helped, let me know. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this. I really hope this called you. I really hope you learned something today. I love doing this stuff more than anything. I'm extremely passionate about teaching music. I'm extremely passionate about making music, performing music, learning about music. This stuff is the coolest thing in the world to me. If you're serious about music and you want to learn more about how you can implement this system, check the link in the description. I go into a little detail about how you can do this for yourself. I do offer one-on-one mentorship. I would be happy to help if that's calling to you. Cheers. Thanks for being here, and I will see you on the next one.